Hello, I'm Carl-Friedrich and this is the Wired Autocomplete interview. I'm pretty sure classical music is going to be roasted today. So the first question. Is classical music good for babies? I guess it definitely is. Also, making music prenatal is definitely good. So if you're a pregnant woman, you should take singing classes or listen to very different kinds of music in general. Maybe also some Argentinian, Spanish music that has a very different rhythm than the European or pop music. Is classical music haram? I think classical music is haram. Most of it. Maybe Bach isn't because it's very religious, Western religious music. And it's often about God, and that's probably not haram. So if you don't sing Bach, you're fine. Is classical music copyrighted? I think it depends. First of all, whoever played it has also a copyright that could be owned. But the general copyrights of the classical music, if it's not a recording, it's, I think, if the composer is dead by 70 years, there's no copyright anymore. That's why you can just record some Mozart sonata yourself and just post it on the internet, and there's no copyright against it. Is classical music good for studying? I don't think it's the best idea to study in general with music, so I don't think particularly classical music would do any better job than pop music or any other kinds of genre. So no, I don't think classical music is good for studying. If you're just doing some monotone task and you don't need to be that concentrated, if you're just checking off boxes on your to-do list, then yeah, classical music is great. Is classical music dying? Can something die if it's already dead? Not sure. So, no. Is classical music related to other art forms? I definitely think so. Very often I think visual arts or literature were before music. I know the musical impressionism, I think the word came from the visual arts. And I think they're often very interlinked to each other. Schumann loved literature, and he often mixed literature with music. And I think probably most of the artists took inspiration from other great artists. So yes, classical music is related to other art forms. Who and what? Who is the greatest classical musician of all time? I would say that Bach is the greatest classical music composer of all time. He's not my favorite composer, but I think he's still the best. And I don't think that any classical musician would be like, oh, you're completely out of your mind. A lot of classical musicians would agree with you, even if Bach would not be their favorite composer. Who are the most famous composers of all time? I made a complete video about every composer that you should know. If you haven't seen it, I'm gonna link it at the end of the video so you can check it out. I mentioned every composer that I think is important for classical music, not for any other genres, that would be too much. But I also went in depth with some composers who are not that familiar, like Berlioz. He has some amazing, incredible pieces that you should check out. So if you want to know more about those classical music composers, you should check out the video. What classical music should I listen to? It depends what you like. My favorites are Tchaikovsky, Mahler, Bruckner. I really like Richard Strauss, Igor Stravinsky. As I mentioned, there's an amazing piece from Berlioz. Have I mentioned Tchaikovsky? I'm not sure anymore. But Tchaikovsky definitely. Check out his 5th, 6th Symphony and his Nutcracker Ballet. The whole thing is just amazing. 2 hours of incredibleness. Ravel, Debussy. There are so many, but I think these are my favorites. I don't think that I forgot one. Maybe Dvorak. Yeah. I would listen to those people. What classical music is good for sleeping? All of it. It's super boring. What are the most famous pieces of classical music? There are a few I would consider very famous. Beethoven 5, Für Elise, the Moonlight Sonata. I don't know if Pachelbel Canon is actually that famous, but there are other pieces like Ravel's Bolero, the Four Seasons from Vivaldi. I think most of them, they are pretty incredible pieces, except maybe for Pachelbel Canon and Ravel's Bolero. I love Ravel, but I hate the Bolero. It's super annoying. But yeah, I think these are the most famous classical music compositions of all time. What are the classical music instruments? There are a lot. Most of them play in the orchestra, so we have violins, violas, cellos, double bass, sometimes piano, then the whole woodwind section with flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, and then the brass section, trumpet, tuba, trombone, French horn, and then the whole drums with timpani, cymbals. They have so many instruments, it's unbelievable, and they have to play all of them. What are classical music songs called? They are called pieces, most of them, but there are actually classical music songs written from composers like Schubert, Schumann, who are very famous for writing songs, also Strauss. The 4 last songs from him, amazing. So it depends. If it's a song, it's a song, but if it's not a song, it's a piece. Why is classical music important? It's a huge part of our cultural heritage and the only remaining music from 1900 and before. It's our past, and it's also gonna be a part of our future. Why is classical music so beautiful? That's a great question, and I don't know why we humans find the sound of strings so beautiful. Or if you just put something in thirds and order it somehow, I don't know why my ear and my brain finds it so beautiful. But there must be some intrinsic value we get from structured sound and maybe even from a specific sound quality. Yeah, in general, I think the composers, they really had an intent, what they wanted to do. They really wanted to say something, and they just worked very hard to make something very beautiful. How old is classical music? Probably around 300, 350 years old. Bach was born 1685, so around that time. Bach was the first great classical music composer. From Bach till Schönberg, this was from Bach till Messiaen, whatever. I think this is classical music, what it has been. How is classical music different from popular music? Also a great question. Most of the time, the classical rhythms, they are easier. There are some pieces that are horrible to play from rhythm like Stravinsky's Sacre or Petrushka. But most of the classical music, if you take Mozart, it's very simple. Pop music has often a lot of upbeats and there's more rhythm to it, I think so. If we look at the harmony aspect, classical music is often way more complex. There are some complex pop music pieces, but most of them are easier. Classical music is nearly always just acoustic, so there's no electronic devices. It's often very much longer. So there's just more time to build up a whole world, to build up a whole story. Maybe you can compare it to movies. If you're watching a 2-hour movie, it's different to watching a 5-minute YouTube video or a short series. That doesn't mean that one is better than the other one. It just means there are different kind of formats. How to listen to classical music? It's actually pretty simple. You go to Spotify, type in classical music playlist, and you just hit start and then you just listen. That's it. I would maybe recommend not to listen to too long pieces. Rewind shorter parts because, as I said, classical music is harmonically often more complex, so you may need more time to understand it. I always listen to music when I know I'm going to hear it in a concert before the concert, because if I have listened it once or twice, I can just enjoy it way more. So I would recommend to listen to shorter parts more often, and you will just enjoy it more, because I think our brain somehow puts out dopamine if we have an expectation and it gets met. I don't know. I think so. How is classical music organized? It's organized in 4 main eras: the Baroque era, the Classical era, the Romantic era, and the 20th century. How did Mozart influence classical music? I think that's a difficult question. I think one of Mozart's greatest skills was to know what notes to leave out. He was perfecting what already existed at that time: opera, sonata, symphony. He wrote everything down from his brain without erasing anything, so he knew exactly how everything would sound, and also in a longer time horizon he knew exactly what was going to come and how he would orchestrate it. And Mozart is just all about perfection. Does Spotify have classical music? Yes, it does. A huge variety with exceptional quality, so definitely check that out. Does Shazam recognize classical music? It does, in pretty good actually. I think it works better with pop music, but it definitely does recognize classical music. Where is classical music most popular? I would say in Asia. I think it's very popular there. Concerts are way more filled than in Europe at the moment, I think so. They very much appreciate classical music, the Western European music. I don't know exactly why, but they do. Where to start with classical music? I would say check out all the 4 main areas and see what do you like, what is your first impression of the pieces you find, and then just dive deeper. I guess I would start with one piece from Bach, definitely from the Baroque era, maybe one of his fugues from the Wohltemperiertes Klavier. Then I would listen to Mozart Symphony No. 40 or the Magic Flute, this is from the classical era. Then as a romantic symphony, there are a few I can recommend. Maybe first of all check out Symphonie Fantastique, Tchaikovsky 5 and let's say Beethoven 6. Those are all romantic, awesome symphonies I can recommend. And for the 20th century, I would go to Debussy with La Mer, Ravel with Daphnis et Chloé, second suite, and to The Firebird from Stravinsky. Did you say classical music was boring? No, it's not. It's actually extremely awesome. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and click this video right here next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see each other on the next one.